All right, we're going to open our Thurston County Fire District 8 board meeting today. It is August 13th, 2024. And so we're calling it to order. So do we have any public comments? I don't really have any public here. No one online, right? Just Gloria.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hop right into the chief's report, and chief is on vacation or at a conference, then take vacation. So
Yep. So as we discussed, we thought maybe we just kind of get out there that our levy, our M&O did not pass to a close 58%. Feel like the district did pretty much all of what we could do. We got the information out. I think probably the only difference we're going to continue doing with the plan we have, but I think we're going to probably have in the newsletter something a little more specific about it because we're up again in November. We already applied for it, so we're beyond about. We'll be on about.
Yeah, I think that we don't talk about the things we do differently would be, make sure that we have a pro statement in the pamphlet, and we've already done that. Our Commissioner Harper, our former, thank you, has volunteered to do that with some Boston Harbor community members are going to support him with that. And he's already written a statement because I think it was due yesterday. So we're going to do that. And then we are also going to send out some kind of a flyer, or we're going to dedicate a newsletter to the FAQs. Previously, we put them on our website, and we didn't send an actual mailer. So I think that sending something separate would be a helpful tool. And we're going to continue to put it on the social media and do what we did. We actually had a pretty good, we had pretty good results. We just didn't pass it.
enough voters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so.
So can you repeat, did it not pass or it did pass?
It did not. We were at 58.some%, and we had to get a 60% for
Oh,
the majority.
+1.
okay. Okay.
So we were close.
Okay.
All right.
Before we move on, I think this is the moment that we need to at least talk about having an executive session. I think if the outcome is in November, it happens to say that we just previously had in this one, then we're going to be behind the 8 ball as we don't start coming up with solutions moving forward. So I'd like to suggest to the board, I don't know what the correct procedure is, that we have an executive session between our group, and we try to forecast what our decisions are going to be in case this thing fails. I think now is the time we kind of put all our eggs in the basket for this August one, and I know there's another one coming up in November, but I think we need to start talking about the what ifs sooner rather than later.
So when you say executive session, you don't mean a meeting after the meeting, you mean another like special meeting?
I do. I think we need to start planning this, and this could be in September before November, but I think it was twofold. I think one, we need to figure out how we can get that information out there a little bit better, because Heidi's right. When you go into that voter pamphlet, you read all the information that's out there, there was absolutely nothing in there for the pro pamphlet, why we should vote yes for this. And then we're all of a sudden asking our citizens to be one of the highest paid districts in the county at this point. There was nothing information that's out there. That anti excess levy camp was well written. It was pretty good. There wasn't a good explanation for why we should approve this thing. And so we have got to get ahead of that information.
Yeah.
So there's that end of it. And the other piece of that is the 4 solutions that we had Chief Van Camp come out there and present us. We need to start pushing those a little bit and start coming up with solutions. I think whether that's the volunteer program, looking at that, hire a third entity to come and evaluate where we're going forward, or that RFA, start looking at those, because the writing's on the wall. And I think our voters just proved that where they want their money to be spent. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be with us right now.
So to clarify
Yep.
your suggestion, do you mean an executive session? Because I don't know if that's exempt.
I think he means a special.
Special meeting.
I
Special
think
meeting,
that
that's
you
fine.
need a special meeting.
Yep.
Because that's a whole meeting for just that.
Yeah, the only reason why I brought up that executive session is because I think we need to talk about the other issue as well. I don't know if I can say this group, since it's an open thing, but the investigation that all happened. Like, I think we need to talk about what that looks like moving forward as well. And that,
Well, they did discuss it at the special meeting.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's anything else.
okay, then at some point I need to be filled in on that, because I definitely have some.
Right,
Yeah, and I read the whole thing and I wasn't able to make it because I'm working 9 to 5 on
understood,
it. So.
yeah.
There were some things going forward.
Yep.
Make sure that they're working. So
Okay.
you definitely need to be authorized.
Please.
That would probably be a special exemption for an update to
Yes.
you, and one other commissioner couldn't make it also.
Okay, there was two of us that were available. Okay.
Can you hear us, Gloria?
Yes,
All right, so the monthly report,
Okay, and I'll clarify, we're not talking about an executive session at the end of today. You're talking about recommending we schedule
Please.
a
A special meeting to talk
to
about,
talk about it.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
that's what, got it.
Okay. Chief got out the master or the monthly report. I didn't know if there was any questions on that or.
I have just a couple. I just was looking at our call response, and we had 3 burn ban calls. And do the people get citations when that happens, or do they just put out the fire?
So the crew goes out. Our department doesn't have a citing authority.
Okay,
We don't do citations, but the crew will go out, make the discretion if it's burn ban altogether, then obviously they're out of compliance. So we generally give them a nice reminder that they have to do that. The crew needs to put it out. They'll do that. I don't know exactly what each of the 3 stories were, but the only real enforcement option is that we can communicate to Orca. They're the
Okay.
citation, and we don't do that every time, but the crew will make the decision if it was something or it was really an inappropriate fire, then they can refer and give information to Orca, who has a citation authority, but no, we don't have a citation.
okay. And then the other, I just didn't know what, when it lists what is a service call? What does that entail?
A service calls pretty much anything that didn't necessarily fall down as specific emergency. Maybe their water leaked, maybe they just needed some help, maybe it could be a variety of things. Pretty much anything that doesn't fall under.
Their smoke alarm needs, they can't reach their smoke alarm to change the battery.
Okay, cool.
There's a variety of, it didn't fill in as an emergency, but they asked for the fire department to come out and help basically with something.
Okay. I didn't know what that meant, so I just needed clarification. Thanks. That's all my questions.
anybody else? Staffing update.
All right, so staffing update. We did not lose any members since the last commission meeting, so we're still kind of par where we are. We're actually right at our 30 volunteers, which to date has been the target that we've been shooting at. We do have a vacancy of career firefighter on A platoon because we mentioned we had promoted our firefighter to lieutenant, so that she's over there on C platoon as a lieutenant there. We're happy to have her there, but it did have that vacancy, which will actually roll into my follow-up, which would be on the career hiring process. I'll get that next, but that's the summary of kind of the staffing report. Any questions on the staffing report before we get into the career hiring details?
No.
All right, so we get the question, how does that process work? So I'll give kind of an update on how our hiring process works and give you the status on where we are on it. We did do a little bit of a different process this time. Generally, what we'll have is we have an online, public safety testing is our online where people go, they take their written test, they do their physical agility, and they have their portfolio candidate information on that. And then we can go through and we pick the top candidates, how they do on their testing, and then generally we'll invite them in for an interview. That's the normal process for entry level. Bring somebody in, we had to send them to Fire Academy, we have to bring them in their entry level. This time, what we did is we decided to open up for lateral applicants. So we posted out there for anyone who wants to come in as a lateral firefighter. We did that at the same time. We also opened up for any qualified volunteers of our own volunteers that would be eligible and already met the requirements or fire EMT. And what we did is we opened that up. We had 11 applicants total. 8 of them were qualified. So 3 didn't quite meet all the requirements. And then we had the 8 go through our initial interview process, which was all of our battalion chiefs. They did the initial process of the 8. They narrowed them down to 4. So the top 4 candidates moved forward for the chief's interview, and Chief Ankamp and I interviewed the 4 candidates. And rank ordered the 4 of them based after the chief's interview. And we do have the 1 vacancy right now. So technically it's all we're authorized to fill to do. What we did is we put the top 2 candidates forward for the background check. So the way the process goes is we figure out who we want. we let public safety know that they're gonna start their background investigation. They start doing that, they go background checks, interviews and all that. And then they'll give us the results of that. So we'll usually put down 1 or 2 or more extras just in case maybe number 1 didn't work out, that there was a backup to come through. So for 1 vacancy, we put 2 through for background processing, and that's where we are now. Once they get through the background processing, we if number 1 candidate was all set, we make a conditional offer. We make the conditional offer, which means, so the background, this specific legal process you have to go through on these. The background check first, then we make the conditional offer, it's a conditional offer, and then they can move forward for psych and background check process, and that's when they'll get warrants. But you have to have a conditional offer first, then they'll go through. After you have a conditional offer, and do the background, or I'm sorry, the psychological review, and then after that comes back.
Are these your laterals? Or are these your 30 volunteers that we have a pool from?
So all together.
All together?
Yeah, yep, 11 total applicants. And I ran a little bit unorthodox this time, having both of them be in the same, kind of the same flow, but that's what we did this time. So then the conditional offer will move forward for the psych eval, the backup. So we technically have 4 that everybody agreed would be decent candidates to make offers for. We'll work through the first one first, work down that. Then after the psych and the psychological process, that actually takes a bit longer. So we're still probably a few months out before we would actually have someone start. So then we're able to make that and process through that, talk about the start date, get it up and go, and then we would try to get 1 seat over at the academy at Lacey at the next upcoming fire academy.
For that position or an additional position?
For
For
that
this
position,
position.
I'm just talking about the 1 vacancy we have now.
Okay, so that projected start date is going to be beginning of next year.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
If the person is a lateral, do they still have to go through all of those psych processes and all that?
So for laterals, they still do the process, but we wouldn't be sending them to the academy.
Okay.
They'll do a psych assessment and all that. Okay.
Or
Yeah.
any of those laterals in that final cut?
The 4. So of the 4 finals, 2 were lateral, 2 were volunteer.
Okay.
So then they'll have their start date. They'll be with us for a little bit, which will be good for onboarding, getting them settled in. Get them started up, then we'll talk to our friends at Lacey about getting a seat in at the next fire academy.
Hint, hint. Okay. All right. So how about that volunteer program update?
Okay. So go back a little bit of history on it. We started looking at volunteer program last year. I think we all know that we started seeing some diminishing returns on investment in the volunteer program. For years, we had relied on volunteer program. Lately, more and more getting hired before we get the value back out of putting them through there. So we started reviewing the details on there. More specifically, last October, started up a more heavy review. We started with a work group, which included our senior officers, volunteers, former retired volunteer, long-term volunteer, Doug, and a couple career members. And then we did a work group, looked at all the different information on what's our retention, what's been the cost of doing it, what's been we figured we did a lot of work, got a lot of input back from them. And basically this was an advisory group workshop that we did. And then I gathered up the information from how all that went. I was able to combine it down and I wrote a white paper recommendation to Chief Van Camp. I got it to him last month and he said, yep, let's go ahead and move forward with that. And to summarize it, I mean, I have the whole thing. Anybody wants to.
It'll be interesting to read.
Yep. It's on the shared drive too. If anybody
Oh,
ever
okay.
has it up, I'd be happy to just get you a hard copy if you want. But in the shared drive, we do have our strategic planning, the details and all the things that proposes where we're going with it. Rather than read the whole thing to y'all, recap, and then if anybody wants a copy, you're welcome to read it. But basically, changing our strategy on how we do it. So we have had a lot of success years past where we're really promoting the fact that a volunteer can come in, they get their fire, they get their EMT, we're gonna help them get their career, we're gonna help them, coach them, we help them apply, we encourage them and network, and they do all that. Which worked well for us for many years when departments weren't hiring like crazy, because we could have 30 volunteers and one would get hired occasionally. We kept that, but now that they're actually getting hired oftentimes faster than we actually see any real value out of using them, we're changing it up. So the summary is, what we'd be doing is changing, no longer having it be advertised for a stepping stone department. We're really genuinely only going to be looking for volunteers that are more established. Maybe they're already married, they already have a career, they're already settling in, they live around in the area. Folks that would just want to serve their community, understanding we would have far fewer, but we would accept that. We wouldn't have as many, because 9 out of 10 of the people that come and say, hey, I'm interested in volunteering with you, they're trying to go career. So starting to work at the earlier stages now, but I'm starting to work with the ops chiefs in the county and potentially get a better communication countywide program, which departments, and give a better summary so we can communicate. So if somebody came in, they want to go career, Griffin is still very much like we were, much like with Lacey for a long time. They would refer over people. They didn't have that many volunteers they were looking to get. And we got a lot of great referrals from Lacey, Olympia, who weren't really looking for volunteers. So it would kind of us be changing in how we would be doing it, and more people that would come in. If that's, we can identify what their goals are, what they're looking for, is let them know, and not just to Griffin, but any department that's trying to fast pace, go to fire, go to EMT, get all these things right away. Whereas what our program would be is, we're pretty much looking for EMTs. Come in, volunteer. 3/4 of our call volume is EMT. A lot of times it makes a difference on the crew to have an extra EMT on the seat, or an extra 1 or 2. But the basic idea would be, we would really slow down. Once the back comes, bless you. We used to do, you could go to fire academy, you do your probation, and then you go to EMT, and you'd be done in 1.5 years. That's about the time they're qualified, about the time they're getting hired. So instead, we're slowing it down. Do we do EMT? So we have to have some kind of value. What are we going to be as a responder? Do the EMT only, and then drag that out. And then not quite have as many back-to-back expectations. So the idea being that it would be a little bit friendlier for somebody who lives up the road. They already got a family. They already work Monday to Friday, and they could schedule themselves out for a shift here and there, shift as they could go. But they wouldn't be expecting, we'll be very clear with them that they're not guaranteed to go to fire academy. So that should deter people who are just using us to go to fire, go to EMT, get all these certs, and do all that. So that wouldn't be as helpful for them to get their career start. And then part of the difference too would be how we interview and do them, because what we had before was the process, was we had an interview panel, and it was specifically designed that if somebody showed they were motivated and they want to get their firefighter and they wanted to be their EMT and they were really a gung-ho candidate, they would score very high and they'd be the first ones we would pick. And then that was the group of people that are the first to go get hired in a career department. So instead, the interview panel could basically have more of an informal discussion. Let's get to know you. What's your real life story? And then, but hopefully we filtered most of them out, because if they know they're here just for career, we've already communicated to them, not encouraged them to have applied. So there should be fewer. Then I would work with battalion chiefs to look at the staffing plan, and find out, well, maybe a shift's doing just fine. Maybe their staffing is already fine. Maybe we don't need to bring any volunteers into that platoon. Another platoon says, I did just lose one of my folks and I could use another person, and bring it in. And then we can determine how many would be appropriate to bring in, if any. So rather than having, like right now, our current direction is 30. We're looking for 10 on each platoon, 10 volunteers on each platoon. And we're learning that just because they have 10 volunteers doesn't mean that that's helping necessarily the staffing. If they don't have all those different requirements, the different fire and the EMT and this, that not having it. So we'd be getting away from just having a quantifiable number, meaning 10 per platoon. Instead, we're more specific with the battalion chief and form a plan. Do you have any more volunteers? And then if yes, or how many, then part of that process, select through of those candidates that came through, which one do you feel like might be a more long-term type of volunteer who would stay with us for a longer period of time? without having them get the guarantee, go to fire academy. Then I would also give more discretion to our battalion chiefs if they want to vouch for a volunteer on their shift that was an EMT only, and they've been with us for 2 years already. We'd already seen that return with us, and by that I mean, we sent them to EMT. They're an EMT with us for 1.5 years, 2 years. We've already gotten a lot of shifts out of them from that. Then if they're still interested and they would like to go to, then we can make an application process that we have to do the full CPAC, there's a whole fire academy thing, whereas for EMT only, it's not the same physical requirements. So that would make that a little bit simpler for those coming in as EMT only, but we'd still have the option, not guarantee, but option that a volunteer could apply for fire academy if their battalion chief sees a need for them, they have a need for that on that spot, on that shift. Then we could talk about planning to send them to the fall volunteer academy. So there's only one academy now. One volunteer academy in the fall right now. So that's kind of the summary of it. Like I said, I'm happy to let you read the details on it, but that's sort of the one-on-one of what it
That's
is.
really big shift from
It's a
how been
huge,
in the
it's a
past.
huge shift. It brings us down a bit more on our
That
volunteer.
demographic, how many of those people do you think are walking in that door?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yep. About 9 out of 10 people that walk in the door are trying to go to career. 1 out of 10 of them actually say, you know, I live here, I'm already a plumber, I've got my career, I got kids, I'm not trying to go career. And then by also compounding that with the fact that we're letting them know, we're not setting them up for a career, we're not helping them out with all the extra little things to help you go get a career. The hope is that, well, the hope isn't the fewer, the hope is the right. So instead of quantity, we focused in on quantity for so long this time. Quality is not the right word I'm searching for, exchange, but more of that long term. Who's going to stay with us for a long time? Because we do get the most value out of our volunteers have been with us for 8, 9, 10, 20 years over time, although they're not doing it at the same competitive rate. We would burn the candle at both ends of the new volunteers that are just trying to go. We get a short amount of time and they're here every shift for 6 months or however long they are before they get hired or less. And then this would be more of a schedule fewer shifts, but make it more accommodating for your long-term life plan.
What does that look like in a practical application? Are they gonna be riding third on the engine? Are they gonna be riding second on the A buggy? Are they gonna be strictly on the A buggy?
Well, the PC, we allow them to plan each shift, so they would have whoever the qualifications are. It wouldn't be me telling them how they have to do it, but rather, more likely than not, it'd probably be the extra EMT that would be the third or fourth on the engine, or could be on the A unit, could be the extra, could be the difference of 83. If can't staff 83 per day just because you're 1 EMT shy, we wouldn't probably put these folks out just alone, but rather with a qualified crew. It could be the extra volunteer that would make a difference with one more person carrying the bags, doing vitals, that kind of work. I mean, then if they're a firefighter, use a word that. But it wouldn't be changing anything for our existing volunteers. They would already have that. This would take effect October 2nd. Because we have our current process. Officially, we haven't changed anything. It's not really fair to change what people apply. If anybody comes in and applies right now, we still have our current program. So they would be allowed to go through the process. So it would take a whole cycle before we saw how this would go. So October 1st, the reason I say second is because October 1st is the deadline for people to turn in their applications to volunteer with us this cycle. So we process them just the same as we always have. But on October 2nd, we have a new application, a new communication model, a new way we get the word out. I would talk to my neighboring department friends about, thank you for your formal referrals, but we're not looking for all the referrals, but instead we want to communicate. And then probably have some sort of tool, the brochure, trifold, electronic summary sheet that would be an attachment. Any department would be welcome to put on their website and say, volunteer programs in my area. And well, Lacey, for example, might actually want to put down that they're looking for volunteers for the ISU, where they might want to have a chaplain. They're looking for, so whatever the volunteer programs, or it might just be none, we don't have a volunteer program, okay. But it would be a tool that anybody could go to any website, have this posted, find out, oh shoot, I am trying to go career, and oh, Griffin Fire is clearly saying they'll back to back you, they'll put you in fire, they'll put you in EMT, they'll cook you quick, and that's a great.
Yeah.
And then ours would be more summative, that we're not trying to help people get a career, but rather we're looking for long-term volunteers. There isn't most likely a fire academy program for you. although they could apply a few years later as it changed. But it would be really fundamentally changing what our volunteer program is. It would decrease the numbers, so as part of the trade-offs, pro con, however you want to see it. But we would be accepting the fact that we would have fewer volunteers, but more specific on the demographic of who. And we'd be less reliant on volunteers.
How many people were on the committee?
Oh, boy, 12 or so. We had a good handful. I invited our senior volunteers. Those have been around 8 years more.
Battalion chiefs.
The battalion chiefs, yeah. Myself, Janet, of course, she's our volunteer coordinator. And of course, not everybody agreed, but there was a lot of good input and different pro con points of each one of these. And I weighed everybody's input in, and this is where I come up with what I believe is the best for our department at this point.
That demographic, I know I keep harping on that a little bit, but all those other agencies, 13, some nursing, that kind of rely on volunteer as a supplement their manpower. How many of that demographic are in those ranks outside agencies? Is that even a thing?
How,
This is our grab, and we try to grab this one kind of demographic. I think the proof is in the pudding of those other agencies, because they want the same things that we do, but is that same demographic bolstering up the manpower of those outside agencies? Is that dynamic even exist for us to start grabbing and pull those people in there like that?
well, it's a fair question. I haven't done enough of exactly each and every department's exactly what their volunteers are. I think it's pretty consistent that most people who come volunteer are trying to go career. So I'm pretty sure that they're probably, don't quote me, but they're probably a 1 out of 10 type of person walks in that door is actually that demographic we're talking about. I think it's pretty consistent. I don't think we're unique really in that many ways. I think most people who want to go volunteer at a department are trying to get hired career. Which is why I say, I think the best I can guess is 1 out of 10 people might actually just want to volunteer for the sake of volunteering and stay for a long time.
Well, it doesn't work out. You can always change it back, right?
We have to be flexible. That's what we're trying to do. We haven't changed our volunteer program fundamentally. Since the beginning. We've made investments. We haven't really fundamentally changed what we're doing. This is probably the biggest change since I've been here. And if it fails,
Can you send us out through that final report so we can all look it over?
I'll just send it as part of the follow-up to this. I'll have it as an attachment. But yeah, so by all means, if something doesn't work, we'll have to change with the future and
Yeah.
change again. But at this point, I think that's probably a better step for us. Be more efficient, would save money too. And hopefully get longevity out of volunteers, although knowing full well, it'll be fewer.
All right.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Yeah, one quick one. Did you reserve any spots in the volunteer academy coming in the fall? Do we have anybody that in the volunteer race that's going through that?
Daryl's waiting to hear back from another, but I think we have 2.
Two? Okay. Contact.
Yeah. Yeah, we should have a volunteer academy. Possible.
How about the master plan?
Master plan update.
So Brandon, are you gonna send me a copy of your report results?
And then to the whole board, and I did print a couple out. I didn't know who would all be interested. There's a couple hard copies if anybody wants them now. You're welcome to do that.
Okay, and then you can just email me one?
I'll email the whole board.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So master plan, Chief Van Camp will be given the official one next month, but give you an update on the status where we are. Basically what Chief had done is worked with each program manager. So we have finance administration. So Heidi and Chief working mostly in on that. Incident readiness and response. I've been working on facilities equipment, Chief McBride, outreach, Heidi also, health and wellness, Chief Paul, and training and education, Chief Klaus. So each one of these put together or have put together a draft already, and Chief has a semi-final draft of the overall master plan for next year. And different components out of there. I saw a couple more pieces we're going through because we've been looking more specifically in what are we recommending for incident readiness response. We had a couple workshops, separate workshop on that too. What other programs should we consider, such as transport, mobilization? What do we do for water rescue options? A lot of the different things, different programs we're looking at, and which ones make sense for us. So there will be a couple recommendations I already decided on recommending. Probably a couple of them may not make as much sense at this time. So there's still a few pieces and there's a couple details I'm waiting to hear back more on before I can make a fair, honest assessment recommendation. But that's the process where it was. The chief worked with each one of us on the pieces of the master plan, and he has like I said, he has a draft, but he's gonna want to give you the final version from him. But that's sort of a status on where we are. We're on time with our 2024 plan. If you remember the chronology we had each month, we had different things due. July, everybody got it, the chief, the draft of their pieces of the master plan. In August is our month to finish it back up. And I know chief's got a couple little I's to dot and come back, a few details put back in there. But he did ask me to let you know that by next month, you should expect to see a draft or proposal for the master plan.
Thank you. All right, so now we're down to the policy 3-1 annual and sick leave. I did read it. I have a question.
Oh, so I think what we were gonna do on that is he did send the draft out. And he always sends it out before he requests approval, so he would ask if there was any questions that you had. And then the next meeting, we'll put it up for a vote to approve it.
Right, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
In the part, it's under annual leave accrual. Paragraph, because up to 240 hours of annual leave may be accumulated, and then it says there's an exception that the board can grant if recommend or as recommended by the fire chief. So can you give me an example of why someone would, what you would come to the board for approval for this?
So if, say, chief had more than, or you came up on 240 hours, that's use or lose, meaning you accrue your next month, it goes away. If he was so busy, he didn't have time to take off, would it be fair for him to just lose it? But instead, he should be at work doing something. He could come and say, hey, could I have permission to carry forward 20 hours over? But the intent is not to have somebody with a bank so big that it would bankrupt the department if they just were gone. So having that 240, that's been there already. That's actually not a change. I think he decided not to change.
I just wasn't
Sure.
sure we've never had an incident.
We haven't had it, but
But it's just throwing it in there.
it would just be an option to
So it's mostly
request.
just for the chief
No, it could
or
be,
for any of the firefighters?
I think it could be for the firefighters.
Okay.
That
We
request.
used that clause a lot when COVID hit, and so we had a lot of people that out because they were exposed, so they had to be out for 2 weeks. And so we allowed our members to extend their vacation and to keep that in their bank, because we asked them to keep coming back and not use their annual. Sure, it was a good caveat that really kept
Okay.
the district out. Yeah.
The collective bargaining agreements to that, because we can carry.
Yeah.
Carry, at the end of the year, we can only bring 240 into the next year.
Okay, that makes sense.
The procedure mostly reflects non-bargaining members,
Okay,
because the CBA enforce is gonna trump
Okay.
whatever that says. So basically that'd be me, idea.
so should it say not bargaining? member?
Well, I think when he spells up on the top part, it got redundant. If you looked at the red line version, it kept every section, unless CBA, unless CBA, unless CBA, and it made it
Okay.
really big, so I think you just kind of
Okay.
caveated it in the beginning to say, unless CBA says different. Other than that, this.
Okay,
If
no, that's
you,
my question.
if you're maxed on hours, and a fellow worker needs, has an emergency at home, has something, can you donate some of that time?
We have a donation option too. Yeah, we've had that a few times. If somebody had a partner, they can approve to have either sick or vacation donated. There's a process. We have that. We've used that.
Thanks.
And you don't have to be maxed out in order to donate.
That's next. Are there any other questions?
No.
No questions from you, Chloe?
Nope. I'm good.
Not much change on that, I guess. Okay, so now we're down to the secretary report. How about that COT update?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to share about the COT, except that we lost our fantastic COT coordinator. And I was very, very disappointed and sad about that. And right now, we don't have a coordinator because it's a union issue with the ProPay. And I don't know what they're gonna do about that, but they have to shuffle people around so that the lieutenants have a pro pay position. And when we lost him and promoted Ally, it doesn't just roll over to her. And I think Brent and they're figuring out how that's gonna look.
We're waiting for things to settle in, because we had, somebody move to this shift and
Sure.
somebody moved here, this person quit. And there's only seven okay spots, and there's a bid for who gets what. So the idea is we would just let it fall, let people fall into where they are, and they'll have to reassess who all has what.
Okay.
So we do have an interested member who's in the COT already, a firefighter. And Kyle Yemi would really like to do it. And I hope that he gets it because he actually attended one of the public education courses back east at the fire academy. So he's really engaged with that. But meanwhile, they're still plugging away, doing our social media and so forth and so on. We're still we just don't have anybody but organizing except for me and yeah, so.
In your spare time.
So anyway, that's the COT update.
All right, how about the approval? of minutes
And
for
then I
July?
sent out the minutes. I don't think anybody had any changes on that.
I had
So I'm just looking for approval.
Any changes, Gloria, in the minutes for July 9th or,
Nope. They looked good. I read through them.
okay,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
all right,
I'll second it.
all right. You're good there, Heidi. And the warrant, my favorite part. Freaks me out when I see those dollars.
Are there any questions on the warrant?
Yeah. I have a question. The 709, it's the Kaiser Foundation Health. It was a physical for new volunteer recruits. How many people did that cover? Because it's $12,000.
That's a great question. I would have to pull the invoice to see. It didn't list it there, did it?
Because it's new volunteer recruits, and I don't think we've had that many volunteer recruits to rack a bill up of $12,000.
We can make a note to give back on that. There might be a typo that just says new volunteer recruits, because I think what that is our physical that we did for all of our members.
Okay.
Not be said right.
That could
'Cause I
be,
think-
I'll follow up and double check that.
I believe it's
Send an
supposed-
email to the board on that.
Okay.
Weren't they jumping on board with your guys'
Live scan? No.
live scan?
Live
Thank you.
scan.
I was like, I can't remember the name.
That's all the questions I had for that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to get, pull back up on that.
Okay. Great. So, anybody, we need to approve the warrants, or do we have to wait until that's clarified?
No, you can approve them.
Move that we approve the warrants for July, or for August. I don't have it, let me see what the date is.
Second it.
Who made the motion then? You
I
did?
was
Okay.
making a motion, I'm just seeing anybody.
Okay,
When did you guys do live scan? Did you do it last month?
We did it.
I can't hear.
February or something. Yeah.
The question was, when did they do the live scan, which is the other medical exams that are done? That they do with District 3, right?
This year was District 9.
This year was District 9.
Next year, we're doing our own.
Okay. It was just a question, I'm not sure we got it. I didn't hear the answer.
Okay.
Right.
what was the question? When did we hold it?
I think the question was how many, wasn't it?
When?
Oh, when?
Live scan was in February.
Yeah, which we shouldn't be getting the bill for that anyways, yeah, so. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve those minutes with clarification on what the fiscals for new volunteers is gonna be.
Okay. I'll second it. How's that? So we've moved and approved that one. All right, so we're on to announcements. So we have the WFCA conference.
Yeah, that is going to be October 23rd through the 26th, and it's in Spokane at the Davenport Grand. And I put it out there to see who wanted to attend. So far, Commissioner Bivens and the Verzies are the only ones that showed an interest. Do you have any interest in going?
Yeah, it's busy
No.
for us.
Yeah, I'm kind of up in the air. Mark,
Okay. Anyway, just throwing it out there that that's
but thank you.
going on.
Okay,
Is it set up registration now?
No, it hasn't come out yet.
oh, good.
I did hear at the last WFCA meeting, there won't be an increase in price for it.
Wow.
There won't be what?
An increase in the price for the
Oh,
conference.
well, that's good.
At least.
The only thing that's not going up.
Yeah,
That never happens.
And then Heidi, did you find out if the snore portion is Zoom? Because I had gotten an email that said that he was gonna do that in Zoom also for the night of the meeting.
Both. It could be both, and you still have to pay for it regardless.
Right. So, because that would just save me a drive in from my Idaho house to there. So
So if you're home, you can do it at home.
yeah. So that evening I'd just like to do a Zoom in.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just need to get the details for that.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll make sure you get them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you, Heidi. So we're down to commissioner comments. Anybody have anything?
Chief had one thing that he wanted me to brief you guys on.
Oh.
For,
Go ahead.
this was for painting the old station next door, the shop. So things were, the quote that we received, he gave me the fuel come out of CR&R. We have roughly $31,000 left in it over the year.
Can I become a painter?
No, the 18,000, 19,000 is to paint it, but we have 31,000 left in that budgeted line item for repairs for over there. So, and he advised me that that building actually hasn't been painted since it was built. So I think he said it was like early 70s.
I can't really hear Brent, so can he send me information on that?
He's
'Cause
coming.
I couldn't hear what you were talking about.
Oh, Chief just wanted me to update you all on, he approved us to go ahead with paint, a quote we received for painting the shop portion of the
Okay.
old facility. And it hasn't been painted since it was built in the early 70s, he believed. So that's it.
Is that at Station 83?
No, it's at 81. It's at our old training center building.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Straight.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
So this is just informational. You're not looking for us to, okay, sorry. Thank you, Brent. All right. No commissioner comments?
None for me. None.
Review and follow up.
Okay, so we have down that we will be sending out the white paper proposal on the volunteer program to the board. We'll follow up details on the Kaiser medical evals, number of volunteers and what the breakdown on that was. And we are scheduling a special meeting to talk about strategy. And a ballot in November. And did I miss?
Right.
And please schedule a follow-up with either chief or myself, just to keep me up to speed on how that'll end. Yeah.
We could probably follow up with him and he could
Sure.
inform you.
Who was the other commissioner that missed that?
Who else was
Daniel.
Yeah, I did, I didn't have it. I was actually having a stress test done.
there? Well, I guess that sounds at the end of the meeting.
We could
Want
do
to
that
separate?
after this. We could all leave and you guys could talk about that. As long as it's not a three of you, it should be fine.
So Pam, go home so they can talk.
Well.
So I'm okay. I feel very informed. All right, so,
Feel slighted, do you?
no.
Okay.
All right, that's all we have on our agenda tonight, so I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Good job.
Plenty.
All right.
Bye, Glenn.
Bye,
Bye.
Glenn.
See you later.
Have fun.
Thank you.